There's been another Wyatt Sicks invasion angle. Solo Sikoa getting renamed. Shane McMahon reaches out to AEW and more. I'm Ollie Davis, and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. You know what it's like after a tough day at work, setting up a creepy door, uploading your faction logo to a flickering screen and murdering a bunch of guys. It's the kind of graft that makes you want a burger. Which is why it's understandable the WWE names behind the Wyatt Sicks faction, Bo Dallas, Nikki Cross, Eric Rowan, Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis, went to a branch of Whataburger after Monday's episode of Raw, with a fan getting a photo of the group with increasingly mean faces from left to right. Nikki and Bo are smiling, Joe Gacy's kind of in between, Rowan has a stern face but thumbs up, and Dexter's gonna kill you. It's still real to Dexter, damn it! It's important for your gang of psychotic murderers to refuel, especially if you've got a long drive to your next massacre, which might have been on Thursday's episode of the Pat McAfee Show. Here's a clip from the very end of their live stream.
If you need it, no worries.
I'm glad I didn't think about it too much.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, went right home. My goodness, what's going on over there?
What the f*** is that?
It's like what's security like around here?
This takes place at the end of the show. The host noticed something behind the camera. Pat asks, "What the F is that?" Another host asks about security, and then the stream cuts to black with a very similar sound effect to when the lights start shutting down for the Wyatt Sicks entrance, prompting a mixture of, "Yay, Uncle Howdy's here," and "What's going on?" reactions in the comments. It's unknown if this is just an Easter egg reference to the Wyatt Sicks debut or an actual storyline beat, where Pat could be one of the faction's first victims. But McAfee wasn't the only WWE commentator affected by the new Wyatts. SmackDown announcer Corey Graves has shared his emotional reaction on Peter Rosenberg's over-the-top show, saying, "I cried, I sobbed. I know the man behind Uncle Howdy, Bo Dallas, as well as I knew the man behind Bray Wyatt. There was something magical happening when Howdy started walking and hearing the crowd understand what was happening. I got emotional." It was speculated that the Wyatt family's former black sheep, Braun Strowman, was one of the people shown murdered in the angle, but he himself has confirmed he was not the monster among those men, saying he had already left the show chasing Judgment Day out of the arena. In fact, PW Insider has confirmed everyone in the segment were actually external extras brought in by WWE, so they weren't even NXT or Performance Center trainees. None of those victims will be introduced into storylines following the attack. Ooh. But Chad Gable. Chad was the only WWE named victim shown in the debut, and it's now been announced on Main Event he's been pulled from his match on next week's Raw, where he was supposed to have a Money in the Bank qualifier against Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman. He's instead been replaced by Ilya Dragunov. Considering Chad is in his own faction-based story, where he's expected to debut a new Alpha Academy lineup as a heel, it'll be interesting to see how he works into the Wyatt Sicks storyline. But while we've got a horror movie on Raw, SmackDown is set to enter Planet of the Bloodline. WWE have recently filed to trademark the name Caesar Sikoa. At the same time, Roman Reigns has unfollowed Solo Sikoa on Instagram. Shade. There's a few possibilities for what this name could be for. Both Jacob Fatu and Hikuleo are reportedly either signed or set to sign with WWE, where they're expected to join the Bloodline faction. Hikuleo is the real-life brother of Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, so you'd expect a more Tonga-based name for him. Fatu, meanwhile, is the real-life cousin of Solo Sikoa and the Usos, so framing him as a close relation to Solo, where they could be Solo and Caesar Sikoa, could also work. Or it's the new name of Solo Sikoa himself. Since Roman Reigns' loss at WrestleMania 40, where we haven't seen or heard from him since, he's been filming a movie in real life, Solo has been steadily rebuilding the Bloodline faction in his own image, kicking out Jimmy Uso and bringing in Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. He's done this all while claiming to be following Roman's orders, who's suspiciously only talking to him, not to Paul Heyman. Suspicions that became even more suspicious with Roman unfollowing him this week. Shade. And Ancient Rome, history lesson! Perhaps Solo, with his growing ego, could rename himself Caesar, which is both the title of a Roman emperor, implying he's in charge of Roman Reigns, and there's also a name associated with Rome's most infamous dictator, Julius Caesar. Before Julius Caesar, Rome was a republic, which meant people would vote for their leaders in a form of democracy, which sounds a lot like Roman Reigns' version of the bloodline, as Reigns was constantly worried about his family voting to replace him. His whole "acknowledge me" catchphrase is based on unanimous consent, which is fundamental to the tribal chief role in Samoan culture. Julius Caesar, however, had no time for pesky democracies. He was one of Rome's dictators, playing a critical role in the demise of the Roman Republic and the rise of the Roman Empire. Solo Sikoa could be staging a hostile takeover with his Tongan faction, turning the bloodline into a dictator rule, not one where the tribal chief has to constantly reaffirm his position with family votes. But Julius Caesar's role at the top of the promotion was short-lived. 5 years after taking control, he was assassinated by a group of senators on the Ides of March, one being his own adopted son. So Jacob Fatu turns on Solo, and we do the whole thing again! Bottom of the fourth, baby! Ancient Rome, history lesson! Speaking of complex family dynamics of power and betrayal, Shane McMahon is rumoured to have reached out to All Elite Wrestling. On his podcast, Jim Ross recently talked about the possibility of Shane coming into AEW, saying that could be a good idea. His co-host Conrad Thompson brought it up on the follow-up episode, saying it's more than just a possibility. Shane has actually been in touch. There was a friend of ours, I'll say, I shouldn't say their name, but he went out of his way to text me and say, "Hey, that's not as crazy as you think. I know for sure that Shane McMahon has reached out to wrestlers on the AEW roster to at least hypothetically discuss the idea." Last time we saw Shane McMahon in a wrestling promotion was at WrestleMania 39, where he made a surprise entrance to beat up The Miz, immediately tore his quads, and had to have Snoop Dogg finish the segment for him doing a people's elbow.
So great.
Before that, Shane had been fired by his own father after reportedly throwing a tantrum backstage while trying to book the 2022 Men's Royal Rumble match, where he wanted to build a WrestleMania match of him versus Seth Rollins. But some of his ideas were genuinely just ahead of their time. He famously pushed Vince to buy the UFC in the mid-noughties before it became mainstream. He wanted to turn ECW into an online-only show years before the launch of the WWE Network, and it was he who came up with Raw Underground, which NXT is doing now. We actually recently rewatched the Raw where Shane first debuted Underground. It might be one of the worst episodes of wrestling TV of all time.
August 3rd, 2020. A fateful night in history where, on a superficially ordinary episode of WWE Raw, a strange truth was revealed. WWE had lost its mind. For this was no ordinary episode of television. This was a special edition packed to the brim with baffling booking, detrimental decision-making, and Raw Underground. So I gathered groups of unsuspecting victims and rejoiced in their incomprehension of this incomprehensible TV show. It was my form of retribution.
Whoa, what's going on here? Why are there sexy ladies?
Bang, 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 bang.
Why do they cut to the sexy ladies so much? Oh no, it's the strippers!
Hey!
Someone's gonna get sacked here.
You can watch that full video by clicking the link in the video description below. If you asked me last year, should Shane McMahon join AEW, I would have likely said, no. No, absolutely not. But now, 6 months into 2024, I kind of want the chaos. It could turn into a mainstream news piece, using the instantly recognizable benefits of the McMahon name without the toxic associations of Vince. And with AEW cooling off to the extent where they're now closer to NXT TV ratings than Raw, and their exclusive TV rights negotiating window with Warner Brothers is up imminently, ironically, AEW's best bet to jump back up could be with the surname McMahon. Do you think Shane McMahon should join AEW, and what would you have him do? Let me know in the comments down below, where I'll be replying to people from outer saying him becoming the Elite's new leader. My quads. Because nostalgia is a hell of a drug, which is why we're reviewing every 2002 WWE pay-per-view in this Sunday's episode of 3 Count. Here's a clip. Sirens. Holla! Pop.
So, I could have again gone for Invasion Needed You, but I've gone for a rare one-word entry. Give me the mic! He says, Give me the fucking mic in one word.
While you're waiting for that, watch us review every pay-per-view of the Attitude Era right now by clicking the video on the left.